The Las Vegas Aces fell to the Washington Mystics 70-68 in what appeared to be a fourth quarter collapse after leading 40-27 at the half on 43% shooting. Washington slowly chipped away at the lead, but Vegas was still under control up until the 3-minute and 45-second mark in the fourth. The score was 66-58 when the Mystics made their final push on the back of Shakira Austin, who ended the game with 16 points and 8 rebounds. When you look at the game as a whole, the Aces played one strong quarter, and that was the second. The first quarter, they started off 2-12. They managed to go on a run, and that tied the game at 15-15. They opened the second quarter on a 9-2 run and closed that quarter on an 11-4 run. Jewell Loyd had 9 points. They were playing strong defense. They forced 5 turnovers and scored 10 points off of them. You could see the focus, the active hands, and the help side defense. The second half is where things started to go downhill for the Aces. I also have to commend the Mystics for stepping up. I've said all season that this is a team with a lot of heart. Austin has proved herself to be a great leader after a rocky, emotional start to the season. I'm proud to see how she stepped up because she's such a skilled player. You don't often get that type of footwork and fundamentals in a player at her size and build in the States. She can be one of the top posts in this league if she continues at this pace. There's very few players that can defend her. Even if Asia played, it would have been difficult because of how strong she is and because of how poorly Kiah Stokes has played defensively. And I'm not just looking at her stats when I say this, although stats do back up this accusation. It's how slow she's been on rotations for help side, her one-on-one defense, her rebounding, her ability to block. Frankly, it's all subpar, and what's astonishing is that she doesn't make up for it offensively. Usually there's a give and take with these kind of decisions. A coach may keep a player in the rotation if they're excelling on one end of the court. But throughout the past 5 years, Stokes hasn't averaged more than 2 points or 5 rebounds, sometimes below those numbers. And for me, at 6'4", that's just unacceptable. Her lack of scoring would feel better to me if she actually attempted shots. I'd rather a player miss shots all day than to just be a fixture on the court. She didn't take a shot in the second half. The 2 shots that she took in the first half were both threes. Nalyssa Smith was held to single digits despite being moderately productive with the Aces in her 4 games. She scored double digits twice in sizable minutes. Her points and efficiency are up since leaving Dallas. Coach Hammond is trusting her because I think that she believes Smith can be a valuable piece to this team, as do I. I like this acquisition, especially when A'ja Wilson gets back to 100%. I think that Smith needs a team that will take the time to develop her. She was drafted in 2022, so that's still a very young career, and the things that I think she needs to tweak are minimal. A lot of her issues come from positioning on both the offensive and defensive end. Offensively, I think she gets too deep before attempting to make a move. She's not starting her post moves or establishing her post position from the best angles, sometimes. Same could be said about her defensively. Her angles are off, which is why she's foul trouble prone. Very minor stuff. Better defensive position could also help with her rebounds. Right now, she's averaging 5 a game, but at her peak, she's averaged 9, and a lot of that is effort. The only piece that may take time to adjust is her shot release. It's just way too slow right now. She's really only taking shots when she's insanely open. She needs to become a larger threat from the mid-range. For now, I take away the 3-point shot completely. Don't shoot it unless you're wide open, shot clock or game clock running down, and it's necessary. Otherwise, take that dribble in and pull up short from 15, pull up around the elbow. 1 dribble pull-ups and off the catch shooting is something that would take her game to another level. So in comparison, the Mystics post players scored 34 points to the Aces 10. The Mystics outscored the Aces 44-38 in the paint overall. Not a lot of fast break points for either team. Mystics 8, Aces 7. But even with those numbers and all of that said, I can't fully blame this loss on the post play. I have to look at the guards, and the guards tell the story of the season. Not only do they control the tempo of the game, but they're the stars of the team outside of A'ja, of course, and they're also the highest paid. To put it plainly, they aren't moving the ball. Yes, Nalyssa Smith underproduced in the points column, but there were many occasions where Smith had her defenders sealed. It was a great pin, and she didn't get the ball when the guards were looking right at her, pounding it into the floor. Chelsea Gray and Jackie Young both had 3 assists. Chelsea Gray shot 4 for 6 in the second half, which is a good stat line by any means on paper. But watching the game, I wouldn't call some of those shots good shots. And you're like, what do you mean, Coach C? She made the shot. How isn't it a good shot? It's not a good shot because she had teammates open. There were moments where she's taking players one-on-one. The post players are scrambling, trying to get out of her way because they don't know where she's about to go. And I understand that sometimes you have to deviate from the script when the offense isn't working. But is the offense not working, or are you not trusting the offense? Are you not trusting your teammates? That's what I've been seeing from her all season. 3 assists from the point guard is unacceptable. She's averaging 4 on the season now, but for much of the season, Asia was leading the team in assists. Jackie Young was 3 for 7 in the fourth quarter. She took the most shots in the fourth. That's not a bad stat, but the same sentiments can apply. Aaliyah Nye did not take a single shot in the second half. Granted, she didn't play a lot of minutes in the second half, but she was essentially drafted to be a 3-point shooter, to somewhat fill that void of Alysha Clark by being that 3-and-D, but I don't know if they're being intentional about setting her up for 3. She's working so hard. Coach has said it multiple times. I would like to see them award her offensively for the hustle that she's putting in on defense. And while we're on the topic of Alysha Clark, let's talk about how big the void is now that she's gone. Alysha Clark brought veteran stability to this Aces team. 13 years of experience, a championship pedigree, and the kind of basketball IQ that doesn't show up in the box score. In Vegas, she was a low turnover player, a reliable floor spacer, and someone who rarely made the wrong read. Defensively, she was a glue piece. Clark consistently guarded multiple positions, disrupted passing lanes, and communicated at an elite level. Her absence has forced the Aces to lean more on less experienced wings, and the slippage on that end is clear, especially in late game situations, and that's probably why we don't always see Nye in late game stretches. At times, Nye struggles with picking up quick fouls or defensive positioning because that's a learning curve that can only be resolved by time. Then there's the spacing issue. Clark shot nearly 39% from 3 during her Aces tenure, including clutch corner threes that stretch defenses and open up the lane for Plum, Gray, and Young. Without her, Vegas is more cramped and their second unit is weak. But the biggest thing goes back to her being a glue player. She doesn't need the ball to impact the game. She brings calm, poise, and intention, and that's exactly what this current Aces team is missing. The Aces didn't just lose a role player with the loss of Alysha Clark, they lost their balance. Now we look at the Kelsey, Plum, and Jewell Loyd move. When the Las Vegas Aces signed Jewell Loyd, I'm sure they were hoping for the 2023 version of Loyd, who dropped nearly 25 points per game, but in reality, they got an even more inconsistent Loyd than what she was in the 2024 season with Seattle, where we saw a major drop in efficiency. She's averaging 10 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists on 37% shooting. In comparison, Kelsey Plum gave the Aces nearly 18 points and 4 assists a night on 42% from the floor and 36% from 3. So now the Aces have less scoring and less ball movement that leads to scoring. Loyd gives them a slight edge defensively, but not enough where it really matters or translates into wins. Losing Tiffany Hayes was another huge blow. She was the 6th player of the year. In her 13th WNBA season, people questioned if she had enough in the tank to even be impactful. She ended up playing in 33 games and started 5, averaging 21.5 minutes. Despite a reduced role, she still managed 9 points, nearly 3 rebounds, and 2 assists per game, shooting 40% from 3. That's a huge perimeter threat off of the bench. She's insanely skilled downhill, and her ability to create off the dribble gave Vegas flexibility, especially when injuries impacted their guard rotation. Her experience in reading offenses and disrupting flow gave the Aces another layer of toughness defensively. She knew how to rotate and recover and close out, and the little things that don't show up in the box score. Hayes' time in Vegas wasn't just about the big time stats. It was about depth, IQ, and veteran leadership. Her presence was a stabilizer. She gave them an edge. They also lost Sydney Colson, who didn't bring a lot statistically, but she's a veteran piece that brought energy to the locker room and practice. It's energy you can't replace. From 2022 to 2025, Sydney Colson embraced that role. She was a part of their championship culture, and while her raw numbers don't jump off the page, her impact is best understood through context, intangibles, and moments where energy and leadership were needed most. So they lost 4 veteran players in the offseason. 3 of them were a part of their championship run, and they replaced those players with a vet that is underperforming, a rookie still gaining her footing. They've gone through a few hardship contracts at this point, Nalyssa Smith and Dana Evans, who's actually really a bright spot for them despite raising eyebrows from the beginning. She came off a down year in Chicago. I question if she would even crack the rotation, but over the past few weeks, she's rewritten that narrative one game at a time. Since July 3rd, she's really stepped up and out for this team. Over the past 4 games, she's averaging 12 points, 2 assists, and 1 steal, all while shooting 50% from the field. That includes a breakout 18-point game against Connecticut and double-figure scoring in 3 straight matchups. She had a slower start in June where she averaged just 3 points over 6 games, but the shift has been dramatic. She's not just filling minutes, she's making momentum plays, timely buckets, solid defense, and low-risk ball handling. And you can tell by her increased minutes that the coaching staff is starting to trust her more, and honestly, the offense has looked better at times with her in it, controlling the flow and pace. So the core issues with the Las Vegas Aces stem from an identity crisis rooted in poor guard play, weakened post-production, and the loss of veteran leadership, leading to a lack of cohesion, accountability, and late-game execution. Using this mystic loss as a base, let's go through some of the points. 1. Guard regression and selfish tendencies. Chelsea Gray and Jackie Young, 2 of the team's most trusted veterans and highest paid players, aren't facilitating at a high enough level. Ball movement has stalled. Open players are being passed over. Gray's 3 assists and questionable shot selection highlight a reoccurring and growing lack of trust in the system and teammates. 2. Underwhelming post play. Vegas got outscored 34-10 by Mystics post players. Kiah Stokes continues to be a non-factor on both ends, slow rotation, poor rebounding, and minimal offensive contribution. With A'ja Wilson out, post play hasn't held the line, and Nalyssa Smith's potential is hindered by guard decision making and her own positional growing pains. 3. Jewell Loyd hasn't replaced Kelsey Plum's impact. Loyd's 10 points per game on 37% shooting doesn't make up for Plum's more efficient 18 points per game and 4 assists per game. Loyd brings slightly better defense, but not enough to swing games, and her offensive rhythm remains shaky. 4. Veteran departures have shattered the team's balance. Alysha Clark, elite glue player, floor spacer, and defensive communicator, her absence is most felt in tight late game moments. Tiffany Hayes, a 6th Woman of the Year who brought perimeter shooting, on-ball creation, and veteran poise off the bench, and aside from all of her offensive highlights, she's a damn good defender. Sydney Colson, culture leader, locker room energy, and vocal floor presence, all intangibles that aren't being replaced. 5. Questionable coaching and front office decisions. Aaliyah Nye didn't take a shot in the second half despite being drafted for 3-and-D purposes. Are they being intentional on getting her looks? Kirsten Bell and Kiah Stokes' contract extensions don't make sense for what they've contributed. Schematically, what the Aces are doing isn't working for the personnel that they have. The bottom line is that the Aces didn't just lose talent, they lost chemistry, stability, and trust. Their stars are playing like individuals and not a unit. Veteran glue is missing. Ball movement has vanished. And even with elite talent on paper, their execution, especially in the fourth, reveals a team still searching for who they are without the foundation that once made them great. But what are your thoughts, Hoops Tribe? Let's talk hoops.